Playing without wheat is one of the trickiest strategies that you can play in Catan. Luckily for you, I'm going to be doing exactly that here in this game. Let's navigate this tricky fourth position and see how we can help you level up your game and make some friends along the way. Let's do it. All right, guys, here we are, Howley Mobali, fourth position. Here's the deal. There's a lot of great spots on this board, and I'm actually quite a fan of what we potentially have here. I'm going to get the game rolling here, and then we can kind of go from there. Now, in most cases, a lot of players are going to look for the high production spots and also some kind of diversity. So I'm looking at things like the 9-5-10, very nice. You do also have some big wheat spots, also some big ore spots. So somebody might decide, hey, I want to control a specific resource. Something like the 8-10-3 is actually really nice if you want to be kind of dominant on the ore for a really nice development card style game. One thing I am noticing though is that we're not going to get locked out. There are too many options here in fourth. We can either take that 9-5-10 like I mentioned. We can take the big 6-9-10 over here in the top right. We can also take something like the 8-5-10 and get a 3 unique resources road building style game with some decent port play on both the wood port and the 3-1. We do see the 8-4-3 go down. It's a logical pick simply just because there's so much wheat on this board that they can find wheat on the way back and then dive into that development card style game. I think for second, you're probably looking at either taking the wood and the brick on the 8-5-10, or you just take the 9-5-10, say, hey, I have two 2-for-1 ports, I have 3 unique resources, and there's a lot of ways that I can kind of complete this setup with the amount of options on the way back. It's going to be really up to third, right? We are kind of in a weird spot where it feels like third is going to kind of dictate our flow, but the more I'm looking at this, you've got to really take note of this 6-9-10 here in the top right, because right next to it is the wheat port. I really am a big fan when you can get a settle spot that obviously has a ton of a resource like the 6-9-10, and then you can road settle to that port. All right, I'm going to pause the video real quick, and if you want more time, pause it yourself, go through it. What would you do here in fourth? I think it's super interesting. What I decided to do in this situation was actually to go wheatless. Typically, I don't recommend taking a wheatless setup. It is definitely one of the hardest things to do in Catan, but sometimes you got to just do what is best for your game. You've got to kind of trust that there will be trades and opportunities to work with the board. So I end up opting for a high production road-based strategy. Now, how does this game play out? Well, I guess you're going to have to see. My first thought is, and the way I come to the setup is that I feel like I have to take the 8-5-10. Yes, I could go for a development style game, but the problem is that probably first and second are going to be going in heavy devs. So I really don't want to be kind of like the third or fourth person doing that strategy, versus if I can find a way to control space and potentially play for road, I'd prefer that. So I go with the 6-4-3 and the 8-5-10. The reason this is interesting is because I control this bottom right-hand side of the board, which we call that the side-by-side effect. I have an incredible sheet port, which I don't think I'm losing 8-3. Maybe this 9-5-10 player in the bottom left over here could take 8-3, but I just don't see them making that play when there's this much interesting space on the board. So we're controlling space, we have really good port play, and we just have a great balance of resources with the exception of the wheat. But remember, Catan is a game about trading and working. Like, there's a competitive side, but there's also a collaborative side. I should be able to wheel and deal a couple wheat trades, especially to help me get those initial settles down, so that once I can settle sheep port, my flexibility and independence will increase and improve. Now, if you're blue here, Mr. Stay Calm, I like that. Stay Calm is blue, makes a lot of sense to me. Probably going to take something like the 9-4-11, or they can go 8-10 and just focus on really using this wheat port to fix whatever deficiencies they have. But with the 9-10-11, it gives them, I'd say, a really nice independence. They can also even take the 5-4-11 as well. That makes a lot of sense. The problem with this, though, and why they rightfully pointed up, is that if they went to point left, then this 9-3-11 potentially could try to take that spot away. So 5 for 11, obviously it is nice. You do have the brick, but maybe in hindsight, I like it. I like it. I think there's drawbacks to both moves, but you do kind of kill some of the space with the 9 for 11. But then, of course, you open up the 6 5 11. So you kind of have to take the good with the bad sometimes. Now, if you are black, it's a pretty tough situation here. I think the 9-4-2 is perfectly fine. And really the idea with the 9-4-2 is that he can rush to the 6-2, kind of complete his or wheat sheep style game. And then, yeah, 6-11. This is the problem, right? When you do some calculations, green's obviously going to need to wheat. And he goes with the 6-11 and potentially picking up the 9-3-11 here in the short term. So the game is rolling, guys. Here we go. My biggest objective right now is I need two things. I need wheat trades because that's pretty much the only thing I don't produce. And I also need to get to the sheep port. My life becomes way easier if I can get to the sheep port. I do make a trade to sell some of my brick. I actually have a lot of brick, which is quite nice. But the idea is I'm going to pick up ore when I can. I think potentially getting access to the ore will help me city down the road. And here we go, sheep for wheat with black. It's a perfect situation here. I'm going to see if I can keep hustling some deals. And the thing is, in the early stages, when you have a rare resource, that's when you need to be trading the most, right? Because as soon as everybody gets their cities and they get their ports down, they become a lot more self-sufficient, which means your trades have less value. So that's a good little note for you at home is trade early, trade often. I mean, look, I always say there are 3 words on the Catan box, which is trade, build, settle. There is a reason trade is the first word in that mix there. But okay, we get a wheat trade. I'm pretty happy about that. We are in a weird spot though, 7 cards where our hand can definitely be vulnerable exactly to this point, right? 1-7 here and we're really going to cry a little bit, but not too much. No, we can survive. You got to be resilient. Okay, so we have a really nice hand here. We have a couple different ways that we can activate. I'm going to take 1-for-1 ore trades where it's potentially the case that I might be able to trade for a city here. So I'm going to see if I can trade my wood to get the settle. I can also buy a dev and I can also try to city. So I have a lot of good options. This is a wonderful hand. I really can't complain here. And I also don't mind giving away 2 cards. I feel like the city's such a difficult objective as us being the wheatless player that it'd be nice to get it. But then, of course, one of the things you have to be aware of in Catan is when you make big moves, you pace yourself really hard. Now, I make an interesting decision here. I end up going for the wood port. And I'm thinking about why I did this, and I understand. One of the things I'm very conscious of is when you're playing ranked, going for an early port can actually make you very dangerous, right? A lot of people, when they see 2-for-1 ports, they feel it's a big problem. So I opted to go for the wood port here, which is quite interesting looking back at my strategy. Maybe just depending on how I'd feel that day, I would change my mind. But I think it's not a bad idea. I would say for most of you, stay aggressive, go for the sheep port. That's probably one optimization I could have made there, but I didn't want to go for the sheep port too early and just become a massive target. I'd rather see somebody like Blue take a lot more heat, and then I can kind of build on the back of his pacing so that I'm not the clear front runner. But okay, you know what? The plus side is that doubling the 10, it'd be a great roll for us where getting more wood to go with the brick probably means that we get the sheep port soon anyways. But okay, no big deal. We'll take it. And I do like the fact that at least every time a 10 rolls, it becomes a free card. It is actionable for sure with our given hand. But okay, we do have a knight. I quite like that. There's probably a lot of ways that we can do deals. Wheat for non-steal. I'm looking at blue here. This is like a no-brainer deal for blue, right? Non-block. Okay, I have to take that deal, I feel like. So I do. Yeah, I made a mistake there. For some reason, my brain just didn't kick on. Like, obviously, blue is on the 11. But I think here I'm just going to go try to rob for it now. So kind of messed up that situation a little bit. And you kind of see like I'm kind of lost here because got to be the 6. I agree the 6 is a good block. So kind of mess up here, but I'm going to see if I can get my deal with blue. I think getting on the port's pretty good, and it's honestly not a bad deal for him. Okay. I don't really want to do plays like this, but I'm in a situation where I am going wheatless. I have to make it happen. We do see, obviously, we get hit by Green, who's clearly upset about the fact, but it is what it is. I think if this game was a lot more developed, I would never do a play like that. But it's still early stages. A lot of trades and a lot of deals can happen to bounce us back in. So for me, just to get that action down is really big. Or non-block. I think this is a... Yeah, so I'm saying okay for a wheat. I'm going to see if I can make a deal. Wow. Okay, so I get soloed here. I mean, it's interesting. I don't think my position's that strong yet. Obviously, the whole situation of not going for the sheep port is backfired, but that's okay. No big deal. Like I said, with this 10 being doubled, we can definitely move around the board a bit. Let's just take stock though. Green is making this play for the 9-3-11. It's a pretty nice spot for him. Black, also pretty slow to start. The 6-2 definitely helps him a bit. But the problem is that is going to become a blocking target, so it's going to slow down him quite a bit. He really needs to get this 9-5-10 down as black. Okay, we're seeing a massive deal here where Boris is giving up a wheat and he got a wood and an ore. Looks like a wonderful trade for him. And it looks like he's going to be dropping a pretty big city here, and he looks like he also grabs the brick so that he can settle in the near future. Woodport is doing things for us, which we quite like. Yeah, nicely done. I do think a little bit like I said, I felt like this solo from blue was a little premature. I didn't think that was the right play from him, but okay, no big deal. 9s are going absolutely haywire, which we really don't want to see that. That is a roll that really just puts us in a bad spot, specifically against blue. So what's our path though? Like how freaking do, man? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Our path is tricky, guys. Our path is tricky. It's not so clear what needs to happen here. I do think we really need to get the port down. We need to get a city cooking. So we've got a lot of things to accomplish here. And I do give a city away, but I get a free car in exchange, which I quite like. And now we actually have rolls for the settle. So Woodport kind of doing some work for us, quite nice. Again, my idea here is that we might be able to play for road, but our production is going to be good enough to where I think we can actually pivot kind of soon. So for instance, like let's say road gets out of our purview where blue maybe connects here. We could potentially go into development cards and either try to build a 10 or just go for army straight up. So that is the one thing is I like to take setups where I have flexibility. This is a good trade for us. I feel like obviously blue is in a very strong spot. We're going to need 2 cards, but if we did that trade, it would give us a lot of action. Damn, so we do see, that sucks. We do see blue absolutely cooking. I told you this wheat port is a straight up menace. One thing you have to do in these situations, I feel like a lot of players would panic for really good reason, right? But you've got to learn to stay calm. When things aren't rolling your way, yes, it is difficult. Yes, you might be put in a situation where you feel like hope is lost, but there's always ways to come back. There are, the rolls can go in your favor. The trades can go in your favor. You can pull things like monopolies, get the road builder and get a really big spot. So yes, it's dire, but I don't think it's the end of the world. We can definitely still do this. Attitude first. Now blue has been rolling like an absolute genius. Like he just knew the rolls, and now it looks like he is either going for road here or going to something like doubling the 9, right? He can easily just drop the 2 roads and make the claim that road is his long term. I think that's reasonable. Or he can run to the settle space, right, while extending his road. That's good. I think here we got a pretty clear block. I think the 9 is a problem. Likely 2. A lot of the steals here are good for us. Wheat's great. We're going to see if we can actually get the settle down. We also have a development card. Not too bad. Victory point. There we go. Okay, so we went from 3 to 4 points. Man, blue is too good. He's too good at rolling in this game. All right, let's see if we can just do the 1-for-1. We'll keep it clean. We'll go for the settle. What do you guys think? Going for this wood port, was that the right play? I think the intended strategy was fine, but obviously the way it played out wasn't great for us. But yeah, hopefully we'll stay off the radar. We'll get our ports going with the wood and the sheep port, and then we can kind of cook from there. Perfect. The 3 is wonderful. We have a guaranteed settle. I'm going to ask for 2 cards here. I don't mind giving him the settle spot, right? Because he's already kind of ahead. But if I can extract some value from him, then it just makes my life a little bit better. I think a lot of players don't trade. This is a mistake. A lot of players at a certain point will be like, we cannot trade blue. Yes, blue is ahead. But if the deal makes sense, right? He's giving you 2 cards or 3 cards. There's a lot of times you just have to take it. You have to consider, taking that risk. All right, perfect. Let's see if we can pedal off some of this wood here. See what we can get. Feed me cards. All right, no worries. I think here I'm willing to do the cut, but they're going to have to feed me for it. I rarely actually do this play. Very interesting to kind of like retroactively see me review this game. But yeah, I do obviously see that road is potential for me. So cutting him does make my life a little bit easier. But I'm never going to do it myself, right? Like I feel like it's just too, it's wasting too many resources when I need the board to start paying up, right? Like if you want me to sacrifice my position a little bit, my production to keep the game going, then you should pay up a little bit, right? Maybe if I got a card from each player, then that's good. But the difficulty here is there's really not that much brick. I am dominated on the 5 by blue. Big block, by the way. The 11 is obviously great to where green can shift some of this extra brick, but then I also have the 3. So tricky situation. Again, blue's got a monster hand. We're just kind of fingers crossed. Black saying, that's probably GG. You're probably not wrong. And because we couldn't figure out the cut, unfortunately, blue's like, well, screw it. I'm not going to even give you the opportunity to do that. In these situations, I'm kind of really thinking that my best play is probably to start buying some devs, right? Clearly, blue is making a claim to road in a way that I just don't think I can touch. So maybe if I can pull like a monopoly or I can keep the knights going, I could fight for army in this situation. So it is helpful to know when do you need a pivot. I feel like a lot of players struggle with that. Another VP. So you know what? We're making it work. Kind of a weird way that we've done this. Typically, I would have a city by now as just a clear objective for this position, but it just hasn't really worked out. And unfortunately, blue's been so efficient with his wheat port that I wasn't getting as many trades as I'd like. But okay, we've got efficiency. I think we can actually make this setup cook pretty nicely. Unfortunately, though, I don't have any knights. I would love to block the 9. I feel like the 9's a problem roll. The 6 is good, but the 9 is just a 3 wheat. It's a menace. By the way, I hope you're doing amazing so far this season. I hope you are achieving all your goals. I just want to say thank you for being here, supporting the channel. I absolutely love this community. I love what I do to be able to share this passion that I have for this amazing game. So if you are new here and you want to level up your Catan and you want to be part of, well, what I believe to be an awesome community of people such as yourself, I really encourage you to subscribe and kind of continue building or helping me build what we're doing here. All right, as usual, blue has another monster hand. Every single time, 8 cards, 9 cards. So luckily he is porting away. He does have some issues. and he's going for the 3-1. What do we feel about that play? I don't dislike it, but I don't dislike it. It's fine. I think one thing he could do, though, is he could settle 11-9, and then that way he opens up the settle here and also the 11-4, versus now he only has the one road settle on the 11-12, but it's not the end of the world. All right, we get some deals here. We gave wood, we got wheat. And I think I'm just going for another dev here. I think for me, I just have to keep stacking devs. Unfortunately, I don't get the deal. The 9 rolls. Absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. How do we bring this back? Well, one play is we can consider trying to give road away. So yeah, look at this. We're seeing the road builder. Man, we would have loved a road builder earlier. It is a possibility if we play our cards right, we could feed road to green, right? We just saw the 3 roll. All right. I was trying to encourage him to flip a knight. I think here, 7 points, not bad. Unfortunately, I think I'm just trying to play for like getting points, which is kind of lame. But you never know. It could be the case. We might see a massive monopoly here. And what's kind of wild is no one is buying devs. I do think if you're green, you should consider playing a knight here. I think getting into the army game, playing knights, pacing it would be helpful. Yeah, I'm even encouraging him to flip a knight because the more this 9 rolls, the... Oh, there we go. There we go. That's what we want. We needed that. And I'm going to see if I can flip this brick for wheat. He's got a ton of wheat. I'm telling you guys, the monopoly is just so freaking broken in this game. You know, the way they do it in Cities and Knights, which is the expansion, the monopoly can only take 2 of a resource from each player. So the most you could get in most of the expansions is 6 cards, right? 2 times 3. It is crazy to me that you can pull a card that costs 3 resources and get a 19 resources from that one card. Theoretically, right? That's the limit. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But sometimes, like, I like the idea that you can go into the deck and pull it and like make this big hero play. I think that's just so cool. All right, so let's see if we can shift some of this brick here. Obviously we can port it. I don't like porting the brick. It just feels very wasteful. Oh. I'm gonna see if I can get 2 wheat. This would be a great deal for us, right? Maybe we can start to stack some wheat. And what's interesting here, guys, is because we have the 2 VPs, whoever gets army is going to win. It is likely. It's possible. If we can keep the knights flowing here, we can actually do a lot of good. This is a hell of a deal. Honestly, don't know if it's even worth it, to be honest with you. But I think here we just port, we buy the knight. If we get army, we are just at 9 points, which is mental. Absolutely insane. But this is the power of devs. It's a very efficient strategy, especially when you start off pulling 2 VPs like this. One of the things that is kind of the saving grace of the situation is now that we're all starting to stack development cards, it's very likely we can start to chain playing knights onto blue, right? So for instance, somebody can put it on the 10, rob blue, I can flip it, put it on the 6, green can flip it, put it onto the 9, and all of a sudden in one orbit, blue's lost 3 cards while getting blocked. Perfect example, right? We're going to see put here, should hit blue. And then let's see if we can start to chain some of these robs. And I assume black has some knights here. Now, typically for green to aggressively play a knight like that, it's likely he's probably got another knight. Because what he might want to do is pray that I am missing knights, and then he can start to pace. Here we go again, right? Throws it onto the 6. Now I'm in a situation where I actually have to aggressively play the knight. So probably going to throw it onto the 9 or the 10. Because now if I don't play the knight, they have an opportunity to jump in front of me in terms of pacing. I want to be very careful here too. I don't have the cards to buy dev, but if I can get a roll, maybe I can. Perfect. Now, maybe I might have to rob black here. So let's see if we can get a roll. I need an ore and a wheat. So I absolutely have to play it here. I have to go for the win. Black saying okay. Probably shouldn't do this, honestly. Because in Black's position, if he doesn't give me the dev, then I actually have a real opportunity. There we go, guys. Freaking 9 points. 9 points in my hand. With this setup, no city is absolutely wild. But there is a big problem, which is we have no cards. So Black is right to say that I am about to go to 9. Luckily, 7 rolls. We have no cards. Probably still to steal on blue, right? Just because he does have 2 cities. His production is really good. But I definitely become a big target if I'm flipping a knight here with 2 down devs. Let's see it. Oh, stop buying devs. Okay, perfect. That's what I like to see. Now, big question mark, does Black have a dev? If he doesn't, we have a lot more time. If he plays a knight here and buys a dev, we're in a lot of trouble, right? Because he's going to be on our tail badly. Badly. Now, the plus side of this is if we flip a knight, we can probably steal the guaranteed wheat out of Blue's hand, which gives us another dev pull. Yeah, so tough spot now. Really tough spot. I might even consider hitting Black here simply just because, yes, Blue is probably in the lead, but if we lose army, I think our chances at this point go down to like less than 5%. All right. So I'm already queuing up the wheat for non-block. Unfortunately, he does empty his hand, which really sucks. I think here we just have to play it. I think one of the things I'm concerned about is Black getting cards. Boom. Wood's okay. Maybe, you know, I thought about blocking that 10 too. I really thought about blocking that 10. I should have trusted myself there. But green also has a knight too. So now it's a case of like, how am I going to end this game? And of course the 9 rolls. Okay. Probably the best case is that we see a 7 here. Black probably can still buy a dev. Let's just hope that Black does have a knight, right? If Black potentially has like a road builder or a yop, then we buy ourselves essentially another orbit to figure out our hand. But this is really tough. Like, obviously, if we have 2-for-1 ports, 10 cards can flip into 5. But getting 10 rolls here is kind of difficult. Because obviously my 8 is a big roll for green and black. My 10 is a massive roll for blue and black as well. So there's not really any rolls that we dominate the board on. You know what I mean? So if we're getting rolls, so is everyone else. So most likely the situation here is we're going to probably have to pull either a Year of Plenty and get a couple rolls, or, yeah, this is really bad. A Year of Plenty and a couple rolls, or we just pull a 3rd VP. The likelihood of building a city here for the win is really tough because we're probably going to be blocked for the rest of the remaining orbits. All right, he should be robbing me. If he's tracking my hand, he should know that I have exactly 2 wood and a sheep, but he doesn't, and I think that's a mistake. Yes, yes, he does have the ability to take my army away. But I still think, like, what if he misses here, right? Like, that's a VP. Well, all of a sudden, we get another opportunity to go for it. Yeah, I think it's fair to say in this situation, if Black gets army, his ability, whether he drops cities or he settles, his 9 is way scarier than my 9. So I'm kind of a little afraid of that. Obviously a great trade for me, but I just can't afford to go down to 7 points in this position. I almost guarantee my loss if I lose army here. So I have to hold it. All right, we need a roll. I think if you're blue here, it's tricky. I'm going to try to move the target to black simply just because I think I'm losing army. Yeah, that's a tricky sitch. I think that was the wrong call, be honest with you. Unless you got some kind of information, I'm kind of scared of black here, though. I think we have to hit black as hard as we can. Maybe even the 5, just kill the wheat. It really sucks because obviously we're leaving blue untapped, but in the event that black doesn't have a knight, this is actually really nice for us. So the best case here, black doesn't have a knight, blue's not getting rolls, and then we can accumulate cards, hopefully to win next turn. Yeah, black is clearly politicking to hit blue, but in this situation, like, I just can't afford losing army. So I have to pray he doesn't have a knight. I have to pray he doesn't get rolls. It's just one of those things. Okay, so we do see 2 wheat from blue's hand in the moment of truth. So crazy. Right now, blue has 2 ore, 2 wheat, and a sheep. 6. So 6, 4, 9, all winning rolls here for him. He doesn't have a knight. That is massive. So we have to dodge a 6, 9, and 4. Doesn't get it. Uh-oh. He can buy dev here, though. Absolutely has a dev. I think you have to go for it as blue, right? Like, if you're tracking, you know that I'm on 9. I have a hand. And there is a VP out there. Well, maybe. Maybe black has 2 VPs. And he gets it. And he gets it. So there you go. I mean, in that situation, if you're blue, you have to do it. Wild game. Wild game. I think overall, considering we didn't even build a city, we took a path where we stayed flexible. Tough game, guys. I appreciate you being here and watching that. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll catch you soon, crew. Peace!